Welcome to the Lady Up America podcast. I'm Diane, Canada, your host, and I'm so glad you're here today, ladies. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a great songwriter named Shawn, who's written a song about God and country. It's gone viral the last couple of days. We're talking about lots of things patriotic and how it's really struck a chord with so many people here in our country leading into this election cycle. So come on back and meet Shawn. Be right back.
Around this town, lady up around this town. Victory on the battleground, we claim it now. Lady up, lady up. Lady up, lady up.
All right, ladies, welcome back. Well, I want you to meet my guest today. His name is Shawn Rehm, and he is the songwriter behind a song that's just really picking up a lot of steam right now. This election season, there's an artist, TJ Aaron, who has who's the main face of the song on YouTube, lives at TikTok. It's been making its rounds on social media, really getting a lot of traction out there. The song is called I Have a Dream, and it's kind of a take on Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. We're going to let the songwriter tell us all about it. So please welcome to the show today, Shawn Rehm. Hey, Shawn.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us
Fantastic.
today. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a rocket, huh? Since you guys put this out just a few days
It's taken
ago.
off. Yeah, Libs of TikTok shared it yesterday on a couple of their social medias, and we're conservatively at around 200,000 views over the last 24 hours, which is great for us.
Yeah.
And of course, TJ Aaron and Mr. William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys was featured on the song as well. So it's been a very interesting 24 hours.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna just take a liberty here real quick. Let's play the song for our audience, and then we'll
Sure.
come right back and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Right.
Old Abe Lincoln rolled in his grave. Battering and held back the best we've made. USA, are we too far gone? Can't buy Jack with the coinies. I have a dream. We the people live in a land where we're equal and we fight like hell till there's nothing to fear but fear itself. It's not what this country can do for me. If we all did that, it wouldn't have to be a dream. We gone from homegrown, born and raised to cheap imports and foreign made. Soft stance on immigration rules leads to soft hands and dusty tools. I have a dream, we the people, live in a land where we're equal and we fight like hell until there's nothing to fear but fear itself. It's not what this country can do for me. If we all did that, it wouldn't have to be a dream.
All right. So
Okay.
William Lee Golden, everybody knows, we all know and love the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a songwriter, a co-songwriter on it. He
No, he
was.
was not. No.
So tell us. So before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the video, let's go back
Mhm.
to the song.
Okay.
We all are feeling. I mean, everybody in this country right now, I think that has any patriot blood running through them whatsoever, is
Mhm.
going to
Yeah.
probably lean in favor of this song. Tell us what was in your heart when you wrote it.
The song was written in 2009 by co-writing partner and I, Eric Moore, and, at the time, well, a year prior, I had lost everything in the '08 economic collapse.
Mm.
Moved to Nashville in August of '08, and in 2009, when Eric and I were sitting down in a writing session, we really didn't know what we were gonna write about. It was just one of those things where, here in Nashville, let's get together, we're gonna write something, start throwing ideas around. On that day, it just happened to be the day that the Obama administration was gonna bail out General Motors.
Mhm.
And 2 things were gonna happen in that bailout. One was Cadillac, the luxury brand of American automobiles. Their CTS division was being shipped to China. And so that didn't sit well with me. I'm like, how is America's luxury brand automobile being shipped to China? That
Yeah.
was bad strike number 1. Number 2, if you ask anybody about America, the description that we all give them is it's apple pies, Chevrolet, baseball, hot dogs. Being a kid born in 1971, a product of really the '80s, American muscle cars was my thing. I'm a guy. I love American muscle cars. You could have substituted Chevrolet for Pontiac because of the Pontiac Trans Am, Pontiac Firebird, Pontiac GTO. Pontiac was abolished in the '08, or excuse me, the '09 General Motors bailout. There was no more Pontiac. So
Mhm.
American luxury brand was gone. American muscle car brand was gone. We're losing American fiber. We're losing American manufacturing. You know, the constant going of Americans losing. 6 million people lost their home in '08. I was one of those people.
Yeah.
And now there's more jobs being lost to Pontiac shutting down production, period, and Cadillac CTS division being shipped to China. So I just said we have to say something. Here we are in the songwriting session. Let's get busy. Let's say something.
Mhm.
And I Have a Dream is what we wrote um, at the time and really thought, you know, clearly somebody's going to come along and fix it. That was 15 years later. And it's still just as relevant or more relevant today than it was '08, '09, et cetera. So
Yeah.
that's how the song came to being.
Yeah, well, we're in the next Obama administration still.
100%. Yeah.
I
100%.
find
Yes.
it so interesting that whenever he's in office, um,
Mhm.
America becomes unrecognizable. And, I was right there with you. I was born in '70, so we're a year apart. I lost everything also, my house, everything in the '08 crisis. And we're seeing just a rinse and repeat of that now in the Biden-Harris
Yeah.
administration. We're seeing inflation through the roof, all these things. So I think it's interesting that it's sort of like a continuation of that administration. We had like a brief gap, and now it's
Yeah.
kinda like we're all back. So this song being so timely, I mean, it's always in God's timing, right? When
Right.
something's gonna get its wings, always in his timing. Did you just have the idea one day, "Hey, let's resurrect this song," or was it just that those same feelings coming back up and you kinda went, "Oh, wait, we wrote this song back then." Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So the it's really a pre-release for a reality show that I'm the host of called Broadway South.
Uh-huh.
TJ Aaron happens to be one of those artists that's on the show. We haven't released episodes yet. That was another part of our conversation today with my production partner was how to start getting episodes out based off of this little bit of success that we've started to have.
Mhm.
We just needed to release that now because I felt like that song was timely right now, being in this election season that we're in. Um, I also don't think the song is Democrat or Republican. It speaks to multiple people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's been people on the left who go, I agree with that song. So it wasn't an argumentative thing because
Mhm.
if you go look through all of our social medias, Facebook, X, TikTok, there's no bad comments. So we know we're speaking to everyone. So the
Mhm.
song was it needed to be put out now. We wanted to let the popularity of the song lead people to Broadway South to find out more about TJ Aaron and the other artists on the show. So that's why the song was the focus for this time,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
we, right now.
And kind of a take on that, "I Have a Dream" speech by, Martin Luther King. So I
100%, yeah.
yeah.
If you all the quotes in the, "I have a dream, we the people," that's obviously Declaration of Independence, "Live in a land where we're equal. Fight like hell is nothing fear but fear itself." That's, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. "Ask not what this country could do for me." That's Kennedy. So
Mhm.
we just did a lot of great quotes from great American prominent leaders and civil rights leaders and presidents, and because anybody can agree with any one of those statements when they were said at the time,
Yeah.
and
Democrats and
then
Republicans, we had American values
100%.
that we could all agree on at one point. Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's what we're seeing in this country right now, Sean, is it's like 2 different Americas now. Like, we just kind of had this, like, I hear people a lot of times in the Democrat Party say, "I haven't left my party left me."
Right.
The progressive wing of that party is just
Yeah.
kind of off the rails, but we do have a desire in this country to come back together and have that unity again. So I love that you're bringing that from all angles of those
Mhm.
American leaders. Um, yeah. So then, how did William Lee Golden become a part of it? How did that happen?
So a really, good friend of mine, publisher, business partner, songwriting partner, Jill Farr and her husband, they work a lot with lots of different country music artists, and, her husband's very close with the Oak Ridge Boys, has been for decades,
Mhm.
and I think there was a behind the scenes expression to, amongst them that, Mr. Golden would like to be a part of the song. He heard the song, and we went out to film a part of the episodes at his home, and I think the song was played then. I've heard him say in an interview that he heard the song at that point. I think that's what I heard. And so I think he's just said, "Hey, I'd like to be a part of this song." And instantly we come back and say, "Absolutely, you're a legend. Why wouldn't we want you
Oh, I
on?"
guess
And
we could work you in.
yeah, I think we can make that happen. And the whole thing worked out where he was going to sing a portion of the song, and we just thought like it would be that great kind of Johnny Cash, gritty voice, down and dirty. He does the opening, which was very fitting, very haunting sound with all the guitars, the way we had it produced out, and he just fit very well in the beginning of that song, and obviously on the chorus. And that's how it came to be. It was really him just expressing an interest to say that because he believed it was a very, poignant and a very right now sort of message
Mhm.
that he wanted to be a part of, and we're very glad that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So then TJ, so tell us a little bit about the artist, TJ Aaron.
Yeah, other than being on the show, he is a Christian conservative, Black conservative, young. He prescribes to all of um, those ideologies, very, down to earth American, grew up on a farm in Iowa, married with 3 kids, 29 years old. He's committed to the family life, and he wanted to say this as well. When I pitched him the song, I think it was January of this year. A lot of time has flown by since he
Yeah.
heard the song first. He's like, "Man, that's me. That song is me." So when I saw TJ for the first time, I was actually scrolling through Facebook looking for musical artists.
Mhm.
Um, and he plays on Broadway, and he's, a working musician, works a regular job, and all those things. So him being a working musician and prescribing to those ideologies, being pro America, pro family, the song was very fitting for him. And he's got such a great voice. He's a great down to earth young man. Um, and he's just very talented. And so all those things lined up, and that's exactly who
Yeah.
he is. He fit right into that motif. And he's not just a one, some artists, they can only really kind of put out certain kinds of songs. He can do a lot of kinds of songs. He has just such a great voice, as you heard with the song, such
Mhm.
a great singer. Um, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him as he
Yeah.
progresses forward. Yeah.
Yeah, he is very talented, and I love to see how the planets align, again, for
Yeah.
such a time as this. There are a lot of artists out there right now, or it used to be this way, that were a little fearful about aligning one way or the other, whether conservative or,
Mhm.
liberal. And so the fact that he is willing to attach himself to that patriotic, especially in country music. I
Mhm.
love that when you said he's committed to his family, he's committed to, the American way of life. I think we're at a point in our country, we talk about that a lot on the show, where you can't ride the fence anymore.
Right.
You're either all in for God and country or you're all in for evil. I mean, it's really a spiritual battle at this point, and we have to pick a side. So I commend both of you for being willing to do that in this very contentious music industry. There are a lot of people, it'll cost, there may be some cost associated with it in some ways, but then I think there are more benefits as people are stepping up and saying, hey, this isn't right. We've seen how all this plays out. I
Yeah.
think in 2020, even in '08, but certainly from COVID now to now,
Mhm.
these ideologies that seem so, enlightened, we've watched how they've played out now, and I think the American people are like, "Whoa, this was not such a good idea." Well, all this stuff that's
Right.
kinda going down in our government right now, not such a good plan.
Yeah, so if we're just strictly talking about country music in general, I go back to really, I don't know what point it was. It was sometime in the 2000s, maybe it was '05 or 4 or whatever, when you had around the election time when the Dixie Chicks spoke out against the war and
Yeah.
Bush, and they lost a career over it.
Yes, they
So,
did. Mhm.
now who chose, I think the fans kinda chose them to lose that career, and I said in an interview a couple days ago, last week, if you go back to, what was it, last year when Jason Aldean, who's with Broken Bow Records, put out "Try This, Try That in a Small Town,"
Yeah. Mhm.
when CMT figured out what was being said and certain factions of the country kind of flipped out over the messaging,
Mhm.
CMT jerked the video off the air. So
Yeah.
there's definitely been a political pendulum swing in all of the entertainment industry, obviously.
Mhm.
Um, I equate it to 20 years ago when the Dixie Chicks career went awry because they spoke out against the war. Um, I think it's because there were certain corporate factions who hadn't had a complete stronghold over all of the entertainment media industry. There's a reason why you're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
If you go back to the '90s, the Clinton Telecommunications Act allowed all of these corporations to buy up all the media, whether it was cable or radio or newspaper or print ad, whatever. They bought it all up. So they started controlling the narrative, carefully curating what they wanted said, what they didn't want it said. And they had to filter out musical artists or hosts or whatever the case may be. They had to filter them out, and that took time.
Mhm.
To me, the pinnacle of that filtering out took place around 2010, 11, 12. And you'll probably notice prior to that, in the 2000s, country music was still very patriotic. It spoke
Mhm.
highly of our military, it spoke highly of the flag. And that's why the Dixie Chicks saw the backlash that they did.
Yeah.
They have since been pushing another narrative, an anti-American narrative, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
I call it the corporate communist or the New World Order or the globalist, whatever it is people
Mhm.
call it today. It goes by a number of names: socialist, communist. They won the day for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, they're now losing the day because of independent podcasts, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
A glimmer of hope in this is we know that Washington is bureaucratically inflated. There's too many bureaucracies, and
Yeah.
there's too many non-government you don't have to be elected to be appointed to a bureaucracy office or a bureaucracy seat. You just get the job and you're there forever.
Yeah.
If you were going to start a radio station or a cable news network a decade or two ago, right? You would have had to go through the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, to be able to
Mhm.
start that. You don't have to do that with you. So
Yeah.
as people are shifting, whether it's art and songwriting or news, podcasts, whatever it is, opinion, you don't have to file for an FCC license to do this. So
Yeah.
I think this shift is not only bringing this giant corporate government takeover down, it's bringing those bureaucracies down. The
Yeah.
FCC is going to come down with it. So I think, and I think that's the positive thing. Is it a pendulum shift that's always going to happen? Probably. I think, if you go back probably a certain amount of time, you probably saw these shifts that we aren't aware of because we're just not old enough to remember. Those shifts probably happened at another point in history. We just don't know it. So I think you're going to see shifts like this happen over time, and I think you'll get to the real thing will be, where are we in 5 to 10 years? What's the narrative? What's the public opinion? Because the court of public opinion is bigger than the corporate court of public of opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because they obviously want to steer it, socially engineer it, and I don't think the people are going to fall for that. You can have an
No.
opinion. I'm okay with the Dixie Chicks having an opinion about the war because I didn't agree with the wars either. That's okay. I'm okay with Colin Kaepernick kneeling because I think that's a First Amendment right. Right, you have the right to do that. I can't speak for someone having a right and then want to take a right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people being able to be people and say what they want to say is fine. It's just when the corporate conglomerates come in and try to, even, on social media, tear us down and not let us speak. They want to cancel us. I think that's where things get dangerous.
Yeah.
You
100%.
having a different opinion than me is totally fine. You're allowed
Mhm.
to do that. So
Yeah, it's that demand for agreement, that where we're at with these organizations, these bureaucracies, all of these, mass organizations trying to censor dissenting voices. That's where it's not okay. And maybe this can fly in other countries, but we are a country built on patriots. And I'm with you. I don't think, I mean, and like your song kind of portrays, we're not going to lay down and take this. I mean, we're
right,
not. You can push us so far, and we are creatures of comfort. We've all fallen into our comfort zones. We have, wonderful, most of us in America, is of a certain age and maybe beyond. If we've worked hard and we've achieved that American dream, we kind of want to hold on to it. We don't want to risk losing it by speaking up and saying something that's going to get us canceled or get us fired or get, all that. But I think at
sure,
this point too, I know you're a believer and we believe God and country and all that. You got to be a little more afraid of answering to Him,
mhm,
at this point
right,
than we do about the cancel culture. And I always say, in Jesus's day, their cancel culture made ours look like child's play. I mean,
right,
they were hung on crosses and beat within an inch of their lives and,
right,
thrown in boiling oil if they had a
right,
dissenting voice. So I think we can handle getting canceled from Facebook or maybe losing a friend group. I mean, we just have to get our moral courage back. And to me, that's what this song, like the whole tone of this song and this video that you have out, the whole tone of it is that we don't back down. We're not backing down.
yeah,
And we do need to come together as a country, but we need to all agree on what the truth is. And we need to
yeah,
be contributors to our country, not takers, not, you know, not a suck or a drain on our country, but we need to be investing in our country and being willing to speak up and be courageous. So I just commend you for it. I love that this message is getting out. Let's shift gears for just a second, and congratulations, by the way, on how
thank
it's
you.
just blown up. I think it's
Well,
great.
thank you for
And
that. Yes,
that also is an indicator of kind of where we're at as a country, I think.
yes, yes,
So let's shift gears for just a minute and let's talk in our last couple minutes here about your show, the show that you're in pre-production, or you're actually, I think you've said you already have some in the can, some episodes in the can. So y'all are actually in production of your
yes.
show. For those who may not know, when we talk about Broadway, if you've not been to Nashville, or if you've been living
Mhm.
under a rock, we have a strip down the center of downtown Nashville leading down to the river. That is known that the name of the road is Broadway, but it's kind of our version of like a Vegas, all the neon lights and all that stuff, all the honky tonks. And
Yeah,
so let's talk about what the kind of the premise of your show is and then where you're hoping to go with it.
sure. Um, Again, if you've never been to Broadway, it is a zoo, a Vegas zoo. It's Myrtle Beach on steroids, or Vegas country down, if you will. It's all shoved into 5 blocks. It's pedal taverns and honky tonks and loud guitars, and it's just mayhem. Not quite 24 hours a day, but it is every day of the week from 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. Um, it's a tourist destination. 17 million tourists visited Broadway last year, and that's a gaudy number. So you've got all of these musicians and artists who play on Broadway. I think there's something like a few years back, I think it was around 200 stages because every floor on these bars, these honky tonks, has a stage.
Yeah, and a
And they're
rooftop.
filled with different bands all the time, and it's just constantly going. So the idea of the show was to highlight the different talent that plays down there, try to get them some notoriety through a show that is branded and marketed towards the 17 million people who visit or the unknown number of people who would like to visit. Because I've played down on Broadway. I've done about 1,000 shows on Broadway. I went to Japan and played shows there. There are people from all over the world who want to come to Nashville and can't or haven't. They just haven't made that trip yet. So I think they could live vicariously through the show, get to see Broadway and Nashville and meet unknown artists, eventually get to know them, eventually get to hear their songs like they do with TJ and I Have a Dream. And that's really the goal of the show. And then introduce them to me. I'm the host.
Mhm,
What is my story? How did I write songs like I Have a Dream, but never really make it, despite the fact that I knew people?
mhm.
So, that's really what it's all about. Introduce them to the unknown part of Nashville, which I think people are more interested in really than the snippet of their favorite artist that they see all the time, really get to know the in-depth part of it while living vicariously through the nuttiness that is Broadway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's a family down there, a family of artists, and I know for a lot of people who may not know, the artists who play down there are backed up oftentimes by bands who are in between road gigs. They play
Mhm.
with major artists, and
Yeah.
those artists when they're not on the road, or those musicians when they're not on the road, they're playing Broadway just to kinda
Yeah.
keep their chops up and, make a living. I think you're so right, and I certainly don't wanna segue away from what you're doing, but I just wanna compliment what you said because we had a show, Nashville Unleashed, that was kind of my same heart. I wanted people to get to know the songwriters. Now you're showcasing artists, but I had that same heart for wanting to showcase kind of the behind the scenes, the songwriting community.
Mhm.
And we, started out, presenting that show Bluebird style in the round, and then we ended up moving it into beautiful venues, and then it ended up touring for 7 years and ended up going to TV. And we would have celebrity artists that would come in and wanna play. We would sprinkle them in. I would kinda same thing like with William Golden. I would get a call and they would say, "Hey, can I come play?" And, we had Richie McDonald from Lone Star, we had
Yeah.
Linda Davis, we had all these great people that would call and wanna come play the show, and I loved it. It was flattering that they would want to, but my heart was always to protect the charm of the show, which was that behind those artists that don't have all the notoriety. And I would
Mhm.
tell Richie, I'd say, "I love when you come play, but when you come play, it's all about you."
Mhm.
It's all about they want to hear the Lone Star songs, and that's great, but it kinda takes away from the premise of the show, which is to showcase these songwriters who have these masterpieces that they've
Mhm.
written that deserve to be known. There's only
Yeah.
so many spots on radio, and these songs are brilliant, and all of these songwriters had great success
Mhm.
in different ways. They all had incredible success, but that when they would come to the show, they wouldn't wanna play the hits. They'd wanna play the stuff that was meaningful to them. They would play the hits, of course, too, but they wanted to play those songs that people don't get to hear. And so it was very, very successful. So I think yours will be too, because I think you're right. People have a hunger. They wanna know what the real Nashville is like what
Right.
really goes on. What's the kind of the story that isn't told, in
Yeah.
front of cameras. And people do. They love that stuff.
Yeah, they do. People have liked hearing the story about how we wrote I Have a Dream. They just like to hear that backstory. And,
Yeah.
the entertainment industry, as long as there's people that want to be entertained, there's going to be people who are willing to entertain them. Whether it's online or it's telling this story or that story, people are gravitating towards different sorts of entertainment. You see it on YouTube, you see it on all these different platforms.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a guy on YouTube. He has a channel where he just mows grass. He's got 2 million followers. He just mows grass.
What?
Yes, I kid you not. I'm like,
What, the
well,
video just watches him
hey,
mow his lawn?
what's he mows? I don't. He mows other people's grass, and
What?
yeah, look that up. Yeah, and it's got
I mean,
hey, whatever you're into. I mean, help
yeah,
yourself. So,
yeah, YouTube, it has it all. And
so I figure if mowing grass can be good, there's got to be something in what I'm thinking. So.
yeah. Yo,
I mean,
now
we
me
used to crack a joke. I'd rather watch grass grow
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
rather watch paint dry, but maybe they would. I don't know.
It's funny to, I'll just inject this in here real quick before we go. I have some good friends musician friends that I've known for years and we've played together. But they had a concept for a show that they're just putting out a web series now called Nash Cats. And
Okay.
so basically what they're doing, they're cat lovers and they're trying to bring attention to adoption, cat adoption. But they're showing these cat adoption stories and how these cats have rescued humans, but they're all accomplished musicians or artists in Nashville. And so it's all about their story, their adoption story. But then they kind of will go into the home and they'll show, who they'll reveal who the artist or the musician is. But it's just a great take on it. So I mean, there's just so much out there that I think, like you said, without the FCC regulations, with us being able to just go and create, it's like a big coloring book, and we can all just get online and create from our hearts and not have all these barriers anymore. And people love it.
Yeah. You go back 20 years ago with hundreds of cable news channels at our
Mhm.
disposal, right?
Yeah.
What did we famously do? We would flick through 100 channels and go, "There's nothing here."
Nothing on TV. There's nothing to watch.
Right.
Do that
So,
still.
I was
I'd
just
rather
talking
watch
to our
YouTube.
social media girl. Yeah, I was just talking to our social media girl earlier. She goes, "The attention spans have shrunk." I go, "I don't think so. I think the human mind has expanded, and if you're not capturing or captivating enough, you're under the impression that they have no attention span. The fact of the matter is I've already seen that. So let me flick through it until I see something else. Why would mowing grass be popular? I have no idea. But if whatever, right? So, it's whatever you're interested in at the time. And we have more selections today than we did 20 years ago with 100 or 200
Yeah.
cable networks. And I still find myself thumbing through social media going, there's nothing here. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's an interesting time to be alive. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that takes your attention in. And, it's also if you're creative like you are with the songwriting and you were doing that kind of thing, it allows you to really be you, put out that kind of show and highlight
Yeah.
who you want to highlight. Cause I've told friends of mine, do you, be you. Your audience is out there. The planet's filled with 8 billion people. Somebody's going to
Yeah.
find what you do interesting. So,
Yeah, and you remember in the days too when in the record industry, in the music industry, there were so many gatekeepers to a
mhm,
career. And now, I mean,
yeah.
you can record it at home, you can mix it,
Yeah.
master it at home, you can put it out, you can record a video with your phone. Those barriers are gone, but the problem is now there's so much saturation and so much noise. So
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
you have to get into a niche.
Yeah.
And like you said, your audience will find you. It takes longer to build,
Mhm.
because there's so many
You gotta
people
rise
competing
above the
for their
noise,
attention.
really.
Yeah, rise
Yeah.
above the noise, but you
I
can
mean, the
do it.
gatekeepers found you, and if they liked you and you got through all the different gates, they were able to put you on the I mean, really, I remember radio, there was only like 6 or 7 radio stations where I grew
Yeah.
up in the '70s, right? There wasn't much.
Mhm.
And if you made it through those gatekeepers, you finally made it on the few chosen platforms.
Mhm.
Then you were guaranteed some level of success and visibility, notoriety. Now you gotta rise above the noise. It's not
Yeah.
cheaper anymore. It used to be cheaper, you know? Social media advertising was cheap and effective. I think we've crossed that threshold since 2020, and now X is not it used to be Twitter. Twitter was nowhere. I mean, let's face it, Trump pulled Twitter off the trash heap. Say
Yeah,
that
he
fast
did.
5 times. Trump pulled
He
Twitter off
sure
the
did.
trash heap. And now people are on X. Facebook's a watered down version of what it used to be. So it's very expanded out. Then you got Truth Social and you got Gab and you got all these Rumbles competing with YouTube. It's
Mhm.
very scattered. It's not as, compact as it used to be. So the advertising dollars don't go as far because I know people that were on social media, they're not on social media anymore. So you've got to do some different things and be creative in your marketing plan, um your strategy to gain a follower, keep a follower.
Mhm.
I think you can always be who you are and still find your audience, but you've got to be much more creative and, like you say,
Yeah.
rise above the noise and compete with the competition that's out there.
Yeah, wear more of the hats and all, so you can't be lazy. You
Yes.
can't if you're
Oh
gonna get out
yeah.
there and create, you can't
Yeah.
be lazy.
Yeah. I've been
Um,
wearing more hats than I ever intended to wear this year. I want to take some
what
of
do
these
you
hats off.
What do you think was, I promise this is the last question.
Sure.
What do you think was the silver bullet for you guys to get that many views that quickly? Other than people sharing, obviously, because they resonated with the message, but what,
Yeah.
how did you guys skyrocket like that?
Well, no doubt, a platform or an influencer like Libs of TikTok sharing it. I think, she's got just on X alone 3.5 million X
Yeah.
followers, and I
Yeah.
think there's a 500,000 on Instagram. And I don't remember what the number is on YouTube. Obviously, she's very successful in what she's doing, and she has
Mhm.
a very loyal following. So that was first and foremost. I think too, as you can share anything you want, right? If
Mhm.
people don't find it interesting, if they don't find it good
Yeah.
or quality, they're not going to reshare it, which they did. We had a lot of reposts.
Mhm.
Um, there's been no negative comment on any one of those platforms saying, man, this song's this or that. And there was no negative. So
That's
everything's
good.
been positive and it's been repost. And so I think the quality of the material had to be there. Then you have to have the influencer type launching, teaming up with the libs of TikTok, etc., to get to
Mhm.
that next level. And we've
Mhm.
been very fortunate to have wrote a good song. Thank you very much to my co-writing partner Eric Moore, TJ Aaron, and William Lee Golden singing it. My
Mhm.
production partner Tony Copley producing it, and then people like yourself and Libs of TikTok talking about the song, having us on. Thank you very much.
You're
I think
welcome.
that's helped us. That's going to help us and hopefully continue to help us for the
Yeah.
life of the song. As you know, a song is not, it doesn't have much of a shelf life. It's here
Yeah.
today and gone by lunch. So they're not, they're so
Yeah.
who
Well, it
knows how
sounds
long
like
it'll last, you know?
no, it sounds like this is a perfect storm, and like I said, I think it's timely. I mean, people are
Mhm.
just you're just putting out what people are feeling, and they're resonating with it, and they're sharing it.
Yes.
And I think there's a contagion, like the courage to put that out, and the message is contagious, and
Mhm.
so people want to share it. I think we're seeing a little more boldness in people to share and
Yeah.
to just publicly say, yeah, that song's me. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, we will let you go. I know you got
Thank
other
you.
things you got to go do, but thank you
Yes.
so much for visiting with us, and best of luck with everything,
Thank you.
Shawn.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much for
you're welcome.
having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, ladies, I hope this was a blessing for you today. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you can feel that moral courage in you rising. I hope that as we meet more people on this show and you meet them out in the culture, you start to see more and more people taking that bold stand for the Lord and that bold stand for our country and driving this evil back, that it will encourage you to do more of that too. Ladies, grace, God's grace is on us, and it is the secret sauce for America. We can't navigate this culture, nor should we even try to, without Him. He is the only way that we're going to drive this evil back. And as we encounter these people in our lives that don't know the Lord, they're really lost and they're just blind like we once were. So we need to have patience and compassion, but we need to be bold also. And remember that I was blind, but now I see. Lady up. I'll see you tomorrow.
Around this town, lady up around this town. Victory on the back.